Welcome. Today, Krusty Karl does assignment 12 and 13. So we're going to call this, obviously, number 12 video, or maybe 13, 12 video number 12. We're going to show skips frequencies today. So first thing I've done is show you what I've already changed for parameters 341, 342. I've changed those to ramp up and down times to 1 seconds from like 10 and 20. And why? Because I want to see this movement faster. So we'll just go here to main menu, number 3. And go here for 341. So go in here to 3.4, ramp up time to 1 second from like 10, I think. And then 342 is the next one at 1 second also. I want it to react faster. I don't want that big lag between rolling the potentiometer. Okay, so we're going back now to moving our screen down now. So we have a whole pile of parameters to look at. We have to set the skip frequencies. And so that's going to be under parameter number 4. So in main menu for limits and warnings, the first one we want is 4-6 speed bypasses. And you can do quite a few different ones in here for bypasses. So the first thing it asks you is you have to change this one. See that one that's there? That has to be, you could make, I think it's 5 different things you could set up in here. So this is the first one we're setting up, and maybe I took this to a different, the same LCP to a different drive, and I wanted a different setup on them. I could go to setup number 2, not just 1. So at 800 RPM now is what I moved this to. So you have to enter it, you have to dial in the 1, you have to dial in the 800, and that's going to be the first point as the potentiometer rolls to give us our bypass from 800, and we're going to keep going down here to 1200. So that range, 8 to 1200, is going to miss it. It's not going to do anything as we roll the potentiometer from to a higher percentage. Okay, so that's basically our first skip, and we're done with that. So there we go. So why you would use a skip is everything has a maximum RPM. Okay, so something that it would blow up at is what I guess I'm getting at, and disintegrate, and could cause a lot of damage. And everything has a frequency it doesn't like. Certain compressors, they don't have a harmonic balancer on them like a car to absorb certain vibrations. So we have certain frequencies, certain RPMs, in other words, that the fan or whatever it is doesn't particularly care for. And it, under enough prolonged time running at that band that it doesn't like, it could blow to pieces. They've heard some horror stories about these big cast aluminum fans that they used to have in cooling towers, that they'd run at a certain RPM to try and control the water temperature for ever and ever and ever, and they would start vibrating and develop into a resonant frequency. So that's what we've been trying to do here. You don't necessarily know unless you try it, if you run things through RPMs to get the feeling of when it could be a bad band that you have to eliminate, or manufacturers. But just giving you a heads up that, yeah, it does happen, and things can shake like nobody's business. So I'm going to go to hand on here, and it's running on the reference, so you can see I have it at 0%, and it's at 0 RPM. So I'm going to roll the potentiometer up, and you can see we're rolling up in our RPM, and we're rolling up in our status. So I'm going to just try and be careful here. I'm just going to get to 800 RPM, and I'll let you listen. I should have moved my microphone over closer to it. But I'll show it to you too in my clumsy way that I can here. So I'm rolling it to 800 RPM. I'm pretty close. I'm almost there now. So we're at 800 RPM, and we're at 44% of our status, and we're that far away from 60 hertz. We're at 26.5. So when I roll it a little bit more, it's going to stay at 800 RPM and stall there. See, I keep rolling the potentiometer, but this cat here is staying at 800 RPM. And it's going to jump. When I roll the potentiometer enough, it's going to jump to 1200 RPM. So keep going. I think it's around 658, 59, somewhere in there. There, it jumped right to 1200 RPM. So that's skip frequency. It's kind of an interesting concept. That's why they used to break cadence on bridges and stuff when they were marching across bridges and wars and stuff like that. They felt that they could. And Mythbusters did a whole thing on that wasn't true and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, we're not going to bore you with that. And I don't know if you can see this or not because I'm guessing, and I'll slow it down then. What happens, I'll roll it down. So it's staying at 1200 now and it's not going. I'm keep rolling the potentiometer lower and lower, and you can see that by here. And all of a sudden, it dumps down to less than 800. Pretty cool. Let's try and turn this thing. I don't think you can see it well. There you can see it. It's probably turning better than it was. So I'll roll the potentiometer again. Up higher now, so we're at 800 RPM. Maybe I'll put a little screwdriver on it. Or a little screwdriver. A little pencil on it. Not helping, is it? I'll roll that RPM higher. There, it just jumped to our next RPM. So that's skip frequency. All right, we're out.